prosecutor office of Ukraine, they opened a criminal case against Medvedchuk.
Yeah, I was expecting that was going to happen. Yeah.
Okay, now it's recording. Woo-hoo.
Excellent. Yay!
Excellent.
Well, I guess we'll start, and then as people come, I'll just add them. But thank you, everybody, for being with me this morning or this evening, depending upon where you are. So again, my name is Jeff, and I am talking to you from Olympia, Washington, which is a state that is about as far away from Ukraine as you can get. It's over on the west coast of the United States, and it's up near Canada, north of California. And speaking of California, we are going to talk about California today and some other things. So let me go ahead and put up this first presentation. We're going to talk about Ukrainian and American movie stars, or people that are in the entertainment business. And also we're going to talk a little bit about Los Angeles and the state of California, because Barbara and I have spent a lot of time there over the years. Barbara's family is originally from Los Angeles area, California, and we have spent many, many, many years there, visiting and actually living there for a while. So, so we know a lot about it. And we've also had many of our Ukrainian guests who have visited us here. We have taken them to California to see the sights. And I know one guest in particular that two of our hosts here know, Stas and Christy, one of their teachers from the academy when it was still open, came to visit us. And you'll recognize her in the photos. So I'll go ahead and get started and see if I can get this presentation loaded up here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can everyone see this okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yay, it works.
Finally.
It's a miracle. Okay, so of course we're going to talk about Ukrainian and American stars of movies, music, and TV. So of course the one that you probably all know if you're watching movies these days or watching television, Mila Kunis, she is, I think, from Chernivtsi. Is that correct? Do you guys know this?
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah. And she's a pretty famous young actress here in the United States. She's been in these three movies: Black Swan, Blood Ties, and The Book of Eli are sort of the more famous ones here in the United States. And in addition to that, it's actually kind of interesting. Oh, well, I got a few more people to add. Hold on just a second.
Me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's add. Okay, I think they're added now. Okay, good. This is kind of interesting. Okay, we've got a few more to add here. Yeah, we're getting, oh boy, we have 11 participants. My goodness.
Great.
Yay, welcome everybody. We're just getting started. And I'll go ahead and just kind of restart this. We're talking about Ukrainian and American stars of movies, music, and TV. And welcome, and here we go. So yeah, we'll start talking about Mila Kunis from Chernivtsi. And I have been to Chernivtsi, by the way, and it's a very nice city. And I think it's, I think if I remember, it's famous for its university. Is that right, Christy?
I think so. I have never
Yeah.
been in Chernivtsi. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. okay. Well, yeah. So it's a real nice city. I enjoyed my visit there. So yeah, she's actually been in 120, if you can believe it, 120 different movies and TV appearances over all these years. And when I was looking at her picture, I said, "Geez, sisters."
Oh my God, no, not that picture.
I knew you would say that, Christy. You said, "Oh no, not that picture." But it was the one where it was sort of the same lighting and the same hair color. I said, "Oh my goodness, they look like sisters."
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And of course, the next one, which I think almost everyone on the call today will know, is a very famous director, producer, and writer, and it's Steven Spielberg. He has, his parents are from this area. I don't know it. Do you know this area?
Кам'янець-Подольський,
Yeah.
kind of.
I think it's Western Ukraine, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where his parents are from. And then, of course, he's here in the United States, as you know, and unbelievable number of movies. Many of them are, of course, very, very famous that you all know. He has won 3 Academy Awards, or Oscars, as you would call, and then 202 other awards. So there are other movie industry awards that are given for, you know, sort of the best movie or the best producer or director. And it's incredible when you look at the number of movies and awards that he has won over his career. So just a little bit of a little note about him. Barbara grew up in Southern California, and her house was in a beautiful area. And she actually grew up toward the latter part of, not when she was young, but later on when her parents were still living there. Steven Spielberg lived across the street, if you can believe it.
Wow.
So, yeah, kind of cool. So we'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about Hollywood and Los Angeles. So the next real famous sort of actress and model and singer is Mila. How do we pronounce this last name? I'm going to make sure I get it correct.
Jovovich.
Thank you. I knew you would do that much better than I could.
Try.
Yes, thank you. And she was born in Kiev and moved to the United States when she was young. 58 different movies, and you still see her face on a lot of modeling and a lot of appearances that she makes, you know, in media. So she's a pretty big success story here. The next one is Mr. Star Trek himself, Leonard Nimoy. And of course, this goes back into the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the movies were made up into the 2000s. And he's from Khmelnytsky Oblast. He's been an actor, a director, and a producer. And he has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame that you can see there. I've got a picture of that you can see. And he's been in over 135 movies. Can you believe that? Wow. Unbelievable. A long career. He died, unfortunately, he died about 5 years ago, but he lived until the age of 83. So, nepogano, tak?
Непогано.
Yeah. So Leonard Nimoy, really famous name and face here in the United States. The next one is Vera Farmiga. She's a really famous actress here. I don't know if you see her in movies in Ukraine or not. Have you seen her, anyone?
Maybe, I don't know, but I know that she has a sister, Thaisa.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Younger sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, she's a big name. She's what we call in the United States, we call her a top list or a grade A actress. I mean, she's in a lot of the very, very best movies. And I personally think she's terrific. And when I found out that she was born to Ukrainian parents, I went, wow, that's great. Yeah, I was amazed. Oh, looks like we've got one other person.
I already did it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And she even dances hopak.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding. That's great. Well, I did some reading about her. She was born to Ukrainian parents in New Jersey. So there you go, Christy, a New Jersey connection.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she didn't start speaking English until the age of 6, even though she lived in the United States. she lived in one of these communities, this diaspora, that just, you know, pretty much speaking Ukrainian most of the time. So I watched a video of her, as a matter of fact, on YouTube, speaking Ukrainian to a group. It sure sounded perfect to me. I mean, her Ukrainian was great.
Yeah.
So she's a big name, and she's been very successful. So and the next one is an actor that I don't know. Have you ever seen this actor, John Spencer?
He looks familiar, his face.
Yeah,
I have never seen. Maybe somebody else?
Yeah, anyone else? Has anyone else seen John Spencer? If you watch American movies or American television? Well, I'll tell you what.
Really familiar face, but I don't remember the movies.
Yeah. Well, if he's familiar, it's not surprising, because he's been in so many different movies and television shows over the years. Unfortunately, he's also he passed away several years ago, so he's no longer alive. But wow, is he well known in the United States? He was on a television show called West Wing, which refers to the White House. The White House has two sides. There's a west side and an east side. And the west side is where the business of the president happens. And he stars in this political drama about the West Wing of the White House. And for 7 years, and so in America, you know, if you showed this picture to almost anybody, they would know who he was. He was really a famous actor here in the United States. And yeah, for Ukrainian parents. So there you go. So those are some of the big names. And then I thought we'd talk a little bit about Hollywood. And has anyone had a chance to visit this area before? Anyone else on the call? Have you been to the United States? No? Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, you know, Barbara and I have spent a lot of time in the Los Angeles area for over all these years. Oh my goodness, almost 40 years, I guess. And we'll just admit one more here.
Yes.
And yeah, and so we always take our Ukrainian guests who visit us. I guess we've taken more than 10 over the years. We've taken them down and we showed them Hollywood. And so, of course, the Academy Awards, if you watch that on television, I'm sure some of these faces look familiar to you, and the red carpet ceremony, you know, before the big event. Because of the COVID-19 situation this year, the Oscars have been moved out. They've been postponed. Instead of happening in February, they're going to happen in April. And they're still trying to find out and determine how they're going to do the ceremony, because normally there are more than 2,000 people in this big theater where the ceremonies take place.
I found an interesting fact about the Oscars award, that it was in 1929, May 16, and it was attended only 2,070 people at the first time.
Very good. Nicely done.
This amount of people, more than 2,000.
Very good. Very good research, Christy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go to the, it's a theater. It's a very large theater where this takes place, and it's easy to visit. And I've been there, oh my goodness, many, many times over the years. And I'll show you some pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So right out in front of the theater is this Walk of Fame that I think some of you may know about. And it's pretty amazing. It's 2,690 stars, unbelievable, that are put into this marble sidewalk. And it goes for more than 2 kilometers on both sides of the street.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. And it's really fun to walk up and down both sides of this long street on Hollywood Boulevard, and to see all these names that you know. You know, you say, "Oh, I know that. Oh, I know that person." It's really kind of fun. And of course, a few pictures here. This one is Steven Spielberg, of course, who we just talked about. And there he is at his ceremony many years ago when they awarded him his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So yeah, and it started in 1953, so many years ago. That happens to be the same year I was born. I was born in 1953.
So it was the first star at this time, yeah? The first star. And who was that? Do you know?
I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to do some Google research on that.
Research, yeah.
So yeah, but it's really fun. Anytime you go, day or night, there are always tourists there. There are always lots of people walking up and down the street, taking pictures. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So then there's Los Angeles, which I'm sure most of you have heard about. And it's a big city. It's enormous. Los Angeles in Spanish means the city of angels. I'm sure you've heard of a city not far from there, Las Vegas. In Spanish, that means the city of, what do you think? Vegas. Any guess? The city of stars. Isn't that interesting? You would think Los Angeles would be the city of stars with the movie industry there. But it's actually, Las Vegas means place or city of stars. Anyway, getting back to Los Angeles, there are now 20 million people living in the Los Angeles area. So half the population of Ukraine living right there in the city. It's enormous. It's actually in the desert. It's in the Southern California desert. And they have no water at all except the ocean, which of course they can't drink. So you might be wondering, where do they get their water? So many, many years ago, when they were starting to create this city, they built a man-made river from the mountains way up north in California, up in the what are called the Sierra Nevada mountains. And they brought water on this river that's made out of concrete, 600 kilometers.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So that is how this city gets its water of 20 million people. All of the water comes down to, and they now have two of them. They're called the California Aqueduct. Aqueduct meaning river, a man-made river. And you can see it on a Google map, or you can look at it on Google if you want to do some research about it. It's absolutely amazing engineering research. Unbelievable. Yeah. So that's how everyone in Los Angeles gets water, because it's a desert. I mean, it's just a desert. There's no water there at all. So anyway, yeah, it's a huge city, 90,000 square kilometers. And the distance across the city, if you were to drive your car from one side of the city all the way across to the other side of the city, it's 110 kilometers. Yeah, huge.
Every has 120 kilometers from one side to another.
Yeah, right. The longest city in Europe, right?
Yep.
Well, it's pretty amazing. The city is, I've driven there many times over the years. And of course, like most large cities, it has many different neighborhoods. And some of these neighborhoods you probably have heard of if you follow the movie industry. You know, Hollywood, of course, and Bel Air, and Pacific Palisades, Malibu Beach, and Beverly Hills. So we're gonna talk a little bit about some of those neighborhoods. But first, I'll show you the highway map, what we call highways in America, or freeways. Sometimes they're called freeways, of the Los Angeles area. And each of these red lines that you see with a number, they're huge highways, you know, enormous highways with many, many different lanes in each direction. And this map also shows how many airports there are. For 20 million people, you need more than one airport. You know, you can't do it with one airport. So there's Ontario Airport, John Wayne Airport, Long Beach Airport, Los Angeles International, and Bob Hope. And then there's a smaller one here in Van Nuys. But they need that many airports to take care of all of the people that live here. Yeah, it's a big place. And of course, here's sort of a picture of the center of the city, but there are many centers. The city is so large, it sort of has 3 or 4 very large centers. And this is the one that's the most famous. And you can see it, the city just keeps going and going and going and going. It goes over the mountains, it goes out into the desert, it goes over by the ocean. It's just an enormous place. And those highways we mentioned, I thought you would enjoy this picture. This is sort of your classic highway interchange in Los Angeles. Yeah, driving there is exciting, to say the least. And yeah. So if you can see this picture while you're watching, you'll see that this highway has 20 lanes. It has 10 lanes in each direction. And this is pretty typical. You see this on a lot of those red lines. I'll go back a few pages. You see all those red lines? Many of those are highways that have that many lanes. Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, big place. So that's the slides that I have here, but what I want to also do is show you some pictures that we have collected over the years from our visitors. And let me just do that. So from our Ukrainian visitors. And here we go. So let me share these. And the first one, yeah, here we go. The first one is going to be of a teacher that I think a few people on this call know. And this is a teacher that Barbara and I got to know very well. And she was a teacher at the Academy, and I did classes with her for many years when I was living in Kirovograd, Kropivnitsky. And of course, this is Inna, and Inna's one of our very best friends. I think she's now living.
Oh, Inna Viktorovna.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think she's now living in Egypt, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? You happen to know, Christy or Stas?
I don't know about her, really. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she's living in Egypt now.
And
Anyway.
Can you make it bigger? I mean, the picture. We cannot see, I think.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, okay. That's about as large as I can make it. Let me see if I can make it a little bit larger.
Because I can see only the folder and the pictures inside.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Hold on. Huh. I'm wondering why that's not showing, because I'm showing it here. You are screen sharing, but you can't see the large picture, huh?
I cannot.
Do you use 2 screens? Maybe you use like 2 monitors, so it will not show the second one.
Oh, no, I'm not using 2 monitors. Okay, hold on just a second.
Maybe just close it and open again.
Yeah, I'll try it again and see. Okay. Any luck? Can you see that now?
No,
okay.
Jeff, it just freezes.
Okay, hold on just a second. Thanks for letting me know. Let me try this instead. I'm going to try doing it just a little bit different way here.
Okay.
Thanks for being patient. I appreciate it.
It's okay.
Let's see if we can do this another way. Okay. How about that? Any luck?
Nothing happened.
We just can see you right now, and that's it.
Ah, okay.
No monitor.
Oh, gee, that's too bad. because I've got some pretty cool pictures here of, Hollywood and, oh my goodness, all the different stars, houses.
Have fun. Try it. Try to do it. It's just 25
We'll try.
minutes.
I'll try one more time here. So you're not seeing that, right? Okay, let's try that. No luck at all, huh? Okay. Well, if we can't see these, I'll tell you what. I'll put them into a PowerPoint for our next meeting and show them to you. But I can talk about them a little bit. Okay. So you have this enormous city, right? This huge place, and the most expensive houses, the houses that you've heard about, these neighborhoods, the Hollywood and Beverly Hills and all of these fancy places, and Malibu Beach. Those are all, closer to the ocean, because Los Angeles is a desert and it's hot for much of the year. So if you have a lot of money, you try to live closer to the ocean, because the ocean is cooler. The water, the air, the wind comes off of the ocean, and it keeps the temperature much lower. So it's not as hot, especially during the summer months. So a lot of the big stars' homes are in those areas that are closer to the ocean. And then if you're a really big star, you have two houses. You have one that's nearer to your work in Hollywood or Beverly Hills. And then you have another house for the weekends at Malibu Beach, so that you can walk out your door and be right on the sand and be swimming in the ocean. Anyway, Barbara's family, many, many years ago, bought a house on Malibu Beach. And they kept it in the family all of these years. They bought this house way, way back when, I think I'm not sure exactly when, but it was maybe in the 1960s or 1970s. So they've had this house for many, many years. And whenever we would go to visit, we would be staying on Malibu Beach. And of course, we got to see a lot of big names over the years. A lot of people that lived on this beach were pretty big name movie stars. So every time we would visit, we would almost always see somebody, that we recognized. So these pictures show a lot of that. So hopefully I'll figure out a way to show them next week, and we'll take a look at those. Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of talking, and we have many people on. I would love to hear from some of you if you'd like to ask questions or if you'd like to make a comment. It's silent.
Guys, don't be shy. Oh, they're listening. They just love to listen to you.
Everybody's listening. Okay. Well, I can tell you that a little bit more about California. So California is a really big state, and you might have seen it. It's long. It's sort of long and tall. It's not wide. So it's long and tall, and it extends from the Oregon border, the state of Oregon, all the way south to the border of Mexico. And because it's in this area of the United States, we have many immigrants from Mexico and from South America and Central America. So the last figures that I saw were in California, more than 40% of the population is Spanish speaking. Their first language is Spanish. In my state, in Washington, we also have a fairly high number. About 11% of my state of Washington, we have people living here whose first language is Spanish. But almost all of them speak English, because in the United States, it's easier to speak English than to speak Spanish. But we have many television stations, radio stations, newspapers, signs on the street. They're also in Spanish. And of course, many of our names, because this part of the United States was originally settled by Spanish explorers, many of the names of these areas are Spanish names. San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles, etc., etc. And so many of these areas have, sort of Spanish roots. So it's helpful to speak some Spanish because you're always going to use it almost every day. It's a little bit like Ukrainian and Russian, right? You have these two languages that people move back and forth with.
Yeah.
So it's this big state. So it goes way from the north to the south, and from the very top of the state all the way to Mexico, the distance is about 800 miles. Of course, we use miles here rather than kilometers. And that's about 1,200 kilometers. You know, it's a huge state to drive from north to south. It also has the highest point and the lowest point in the United States. The highest point is Mount Whitney, and it's 4,400 meters, I think. It's a huge mountain. There are many huge mountains in California, but that's the tallest. And
yeah, like half of the Everest.
Yeah, half of Everest. And then the lowest point is also in California, and it's out in the desert, and it's called Death Valley. It sounds like a tough place. It's very hot, and it's very low, and it's about 30, I think it's more than that, maybe like 50 meters below sea level, below the level of the sea.
Mhm.
And these two places are less than 200 kilometers apart. That's really interesting. The highest and the lowest are pretty near each other. It's a very interesting state. It has every possible sort of geography and geology that you can imagine. It has huge mountains. It has big forests. It has agriculture. It has the ocean. It has the desert. And it's got movie stars.
Whatever else you need for it.
Yeah. So it's a state that sort of has it all. And then, of course, it has a lot of people and a lot of industries. And if you were to look at the economy just of California, no other state, just California, it would be the number 5 economy in the world, the largest, and it's just a state in the United States. So it's a big place. There's a lot going on in California.
So is it like the largest economy through the whole states, throughout 52 states?
Yeah, it's the largest. And I think part of that, obviously it's huge, and it's got Los Angeles. It's also got San Francisco. It's also got San Jose. And San Jose is this area that you may know about as Silicon Valley, it's called. And that's where all of these companies are located there. You know, Apple and Google and Yahoo and Facebook, and it's just this long list. And they're all in the same general area of this area south of San Francisco. It's called San Jose, and they're all there. All those companies are located there.
Nice.
Pretty interesting. Yeah.
It is interesting. Everybody listening to you.
I noticed.
Jeff, did you find some other American actors with the Ukrainian roots? Any others? Do you know?
Yeah, there are others for sure. Many of them are not as well known. They're doing smaller.
Leonardo DiCaprio. Everybody knows.
Well, the research I said that he doesn't have Ukrainian roots, that he has Polish and Russian roots.
I have what I found about DiCaprio is that his grandmother, she lived in Odessa,
Yeah.
So during the revolution of 1917 and some on those years, so she immigrated to Germany, where she got married with an Italian, and then they moved to the United States. So his grandmother was already born in the United States, and then he had his grandmother from Ukraine, from Odessa.
It's pretty distant. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The same also with Stallone, with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So his grandmother also moved from Odessa to the United States, and then they settled and married with an Italian.
Oh, okay.
And David Duchovny, do you know him?
Yeah, I checked him too, and again, it didn't have it as Ukrainian. It had it as I think it was either Russian or Polish, but it said it wasn't Ukraine.
His father, he was born in Kiev. So this fact.
Wow, that's different than the research I saw. Yeah, the research I saw said he didn't have a Ukrainian connection. So, okay, great. That's cool.
Different researchers.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a pretty good acting career for about 10 or 12 years here. I don't see him as much as I used to, but I think he was on a television show, a popular television show in the United States called The X-Files. The X-Files, yeah. And he was a pretty big name for many years. Does anyone else know anybody else that we've missed here? Silence. Okay.
I found Liv Schreiber and Liv Tyler, but I don't know them at all.
Well, Liv Schreiber's a very famous actor, but again, he didn't show up on my list. That's maybe he has great grandparents or something like that. Yeah.
I found that his grandfather was a native of Ukraine.
Oh, really? Grandfather?
It said in my research.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, and Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler's she was an actress for several years here. Yeah. I don't see her as much as I used to, but yeah, she's been in a number of movies and television shows.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Catherine Vinnick, who is Katrina Vinnytskaya, and she's basically more like Canadian actress, but she is also played in a couple of Hollywood movies, also like the TV show Vikings.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, Stas, because we did American Ukrainian, but if you did Canadian Ukrainian, I think you'd find quite a few.
Yeah, way more.
Yeah.
Because of the more people, like in Ukrainian diaspora is much bigger over there.
Much bigger, yeah. When you go to some of the larger cities and towns in Ukraine or in Canada, that's pretty funny. You think you're in Ukraine. It's amazing. Some of these towns have very, very large Ukrainian neighborhoods. I'm thinking of the two I can think of immediately. Toronto, which is their biggest city. When you go to Toronto, there's an enormous area that is all Ukrainian. They even have a big park that's dedicated, to the Ukrainian lifestyle, and many, many, many shops, lots of different stores. I mean, it's a big Ukrainian population. And then there's a town that I visited many years ago in the center of Canada, and it's in the province of Saskatchewan. It's a hard one to pronounce, Saskatchewan. And the entire town is Ukrainian. Everybody who lives there is Ukrainian. And they have a big Ukrainian-Canadian festival every year. It goes for 2 weeks in the summer. And you can imagine there's a little bit of shashlik and a little bit of vodka and a little bit of parties that go on for 2 weeks there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Also, one more like actor who is Jack Palance.
Yes, Jack Palance. Go up. Yes.
Yeah, Volodymyr Polahnyuk.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Really?
So his real name is his real name is Volodymyr Polahnyuk. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he is famous Western movie star, and he was also. I found that he was nominated for Oscar, and also he won the Oscar award in 1991.
Yes. Yeah,
and he also has his own star on that Street of Fame.
He does. Yeah, I didn't include him because he died, many years ago. But
yeah,
but he was a famous actor here. Yeah, in a lot of different movies and TV shows.
And the interesting fact about him that I found was that he was introduced to be a chairman, like the leader of that Russian film festival in Hollywood. And when they called him, like when they announced that he is going like to lead the festival, he just stood up and said that, yeah, I feel like I walked into the wrong room by mistake because I'm not Russian, I'm Ukrainian, and he just walked away.
What about Dustin Hoffman? Did he talk about him? No?
He didn't show up on my list, but yeah, tell me, what did you find out, Christy?
I found out that his grandmother and grandfather immigrated from the Kiev region. It's called Bila Tserkva, a little city near the Kiev. And
wow,
they moved to Chicago. So that's so he has some roots, Ukrainian roots.
Interesting. Wow, he's a big name. Yeah, he's a really big name here in the United States.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. That's great.
So yeah, I found 10.
Good job.
Great.
They're out there everywhere. They're everywhere. Ukrainians are everywhere.
We still have 6 participants.
Yeah, we have a few left. Any other questions from anyone?
Alexei, do you have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
I have a question for you, Jeff, the last one.
Sure.
We've been talking about movies. So what is your favorite movie?
Wow, now there's a good question. My favorite movie was made in 1942.
Wow.
Yeah, before I was born. It was made in black and white. It was not a color movie, but it is easily the best movie I've ever seen, by far. It's called Casablanca.
Casablanca.
It means White House, right? So Casablanca is a place that the movie is just hard to describe. It takes place during the World War II, the Great Patriotic War. And it takes place in Morocco, in the city of Casablanca.
Mm-hmm.
If you do some research on it, you can find out about it. But wow, the best movie I've ever seen. And a lot of people think that, people who watch a lot of movies and know a lot about the movie history.
They say the year of the movie. Can you repeat the year? Yeah,
I think it's 1942. I might be wrong, but I think it's right around that. Yeah, but Casablanca.
Google will find it.
Yeah, Google will find anything.
Yeah.
Casablanca. It stars. There's some big names of the time, some big movie stars, but the most famous was an actor named Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart. And he is sort of the George Clooney of that era. Everyone knows this guy. Terrific actor, but it's a great movie. It's really well made, and it's very clever. It's really fun to watch. I've watched it 100 times. I mean, I've watched it so many times, and I never get tired of it because it's so well made. It's such a good movie to watch. So yes, that's my favorite. How about you, Christy? What's your favorite?
Oh my God, I don't know. I like some comedies. I don't have any special one, some comedies, sometimes it depends on my mood, sometimes some horror movies, sometimes comedies, melodramas. Yeah,
entertainment. That's right.
Yeah. What about you, Alexei? Which is your favorite movie? Alexei, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, I think it's Bloodshot, because in this movie tells about man on which tests experiments different, and he become Iron Man.
Kind of. Yeah, I saw this movie, Bloodshot. And who is the main actor?
I don't know who the main.
Vin Diesel. I remember.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's in a lot of action movies here in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I think we're done or not? Do you have anything to tell?
Anything else from anyone? Last chance.
Можно тогда сказать, да?
Да.
Can you tell us on another meeting about American school?
Oh, next week? Yeah. So
Yes,
what would you like to know?
About types of exams, about classrooms, and types of schools, private or...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I would be happy to do that. We'll talk about American education next week.
Yes, and to show maybe some pictures from American schools, because it differs from ours. I think you
Very
can tell
different.
that. Very different.
Yeah. Small schools and high schools and colleges and universities, they're very different than they are in Ukraine.
Yeah, it will be a great topic.
Yeah, that's an excellent topic. Thank you so much. And I promise I'll make them so everyone can see them. So we'll do that. And then I'll also show these pictures from California too. We'll make sure we look at those because they're really fun. Yeah, you'll enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Amazing time spending with us. It's morning time, so you can go back to sleep.
Yes, good idea. Thanks, everybody. It's always a pleasure to see everyone, and I hope I'll see everyone and many more next week.
Okay, we will announce.
Yes, thank you.
We'll announce about the next meeting.
Okay, I'll set that up and send you the information, Christy.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.